All right, welcome to another episode of Untherapeutic. Today we have Neil and Tasha Lyons from Love and Marriage DC. Love and Marriage DC. I'm super excited to dive into this podcast episode for so many reasons, but one in particular, not because they're on the show, but because they've been together for over 20 years. When you think about everything that's going on, how difficult it is, how difficult it is to find someone, nonetheless, get married and stay married for 20 years. I mean, in many ways, they're a unicorn in today's society. So I'm super excited. But Neil, Tasha, go ahead, share a little bit about yourself and your experience on the show and just kind of everything that you guys have going on outside of that.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having us on your show. I'm Tasha. I am a real estate agent and hairstylist, celebrity hairstylist. We have a real estate team together, me, him, and my 21-year-old daughter. What else do we have got? I have a candle line coming out. I have a lot of stuff coming out and going on right now. Yeah. And what about you? I don't want to take up all the time.
My name is Neil Lyons, the husband of Tasha Lyons. I'm in IT. I deal with IT, and I'm also a real estate agent, basketball coach / mentor / father. I'm also have a grooming young men mentoring program I'm working on, and my thing is just about development, making people better. Yeah, making the youth. That's my purpose, my goal, where I go to. So just making the youth better, developing the youth.
Okay, I love it. Look, you guys super busy. I'm to figure out how y'all
sound like it, man. It just sound busy, man.
No, it sounds busy because it is busy. I'm like, woo. But listen, you guys tell us a little bit about how you all met. So, I said earlier, you guys have been married for over 20 years, which is amazing to me. I've been married 7 years. So I'm looking at that like, I got 13 years to go. Tell us a little bit how you all met and just, man, what has it been like 20 years of marriage?
So actually, we met in our high school, Williamsburg High School, our senior year. Well, we went there all 4 years together, but I really didn't know of Neil until my senior year. You gonna tell him how you was all on my line?
She didn't peak till her senior year.
Okay, that's what it was.
She peaked. Yeah.
Well, he just kept asking me to the prom, but I didn't know that if he was serious or not. So one day he finally just stopped asking because I would just smile and laugh it off like he playing games because I was shy. I was timid to myself and he was a basketball jock. So I'm thinking that, they're playing a cruel joke on me and he's pranking me.
So 20 years later, it's a cruel joke,
Right. Mm-hmm. So finally responded and was like, okay, yeah, I'll go, whatever. Went to prom together and the rest is history. We've been together for 22 years, married 16. We just celebrated our 16th anniversary, September the 2nd. Yep.
That's amazing. I always ask couples this, when you guys first met, I know that's a while back. Did you ever think 20 years later you'd still be together?
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Nope. As a young man, you're never thinking about marriage. You're not thinking of past. I'm gonna just keep it real transparent. Yeah. You're not even thinking past the next week. Whatever your intentions may be as a young man, who knows? You know how it is.
Yep.
You're never thinking past that, and to see where we are now, is to me is a major accomplishment for us, not just being young Black people, young Black men and women, but just in general, because like you said, it's like rare that you see that now.
Yeah, it really is. And you're right. I think so. My wife, we went to prom together in high school. Now we didn't stay together all straight through. Now I'm be honest. Okay. Like start, stop, and then start. Right. Yeah, had some growing to do in that in between.
Exactly. That's real though.
But to your point, you're right. You don't see past like next week or this moment here. Why do you think that is?
So I know you want to answer that.
I know since I said that, I'm gonna speak for me first. when you're young, like we was 18 years old, I didn't think, how is this show a very transparent show like this show?
Yeah. No, keep it. You
okay.
good?
Okay.
Yeah. We in the living room just talking.
Okay, well, let's talk.
Yeah.
So when you first, it's just all about your hormones. You thinking about, you might just want to get some cheeks. You might just want to hit it or something, right?
Yep.
But then as you begin a relationship, you start growing together, and you might start like, you might kick it a little bit more, and then you go, all right, but let's get to the next week, and the next week. And so it says something about my wife, I would say, because she kept my interest throughout the weeks. Not saying I didn't have no stray away moments, or I didn't, do my own thing outside of that.
Yeah.
But she continued to keep my attention throughout those weeks, and she won me over, I would say, in that aspect.
But I honestly think that that's the most difficult part about being with someone, number one, at a young age, at 18, to last 22 years. It's a little taboo because, especially starting at 18, you don't know who you are as an individual, let alone trying to grow together with someone else. Yeah. So that was the difficult part about, our tenure of marriage, because it's like, who I am right now at 40 is not the person that I was at 20, so to be able to transition together, and men and women, they don't mature at the same time anyway. So, to be able to grow together, that was a feat within itself. So,
it's interesting because it's I've seen it go two ways. On one extreme, you see someone you meet, say, later in life, and you're a little bit more established. You have a bit clearer vision as to what it is you want and desire.
Right.
But you also kind of have some of the residue of years of disappointment, heartbreak, and you kind of carry that, or you can.
Yeah.
Right.
Even if it's just half, it's still a lot.
Right.
Into the relationship. On the flip side, when you get together young, you really are growing together.
Yeah.
So like, you working some of those growing pains out together.
Yeah.
How has that been for you guys? Because
difficult.
Very
difficult. Because like he was saying, with the stray away moments, not just him, with myself too, you don't know what you want at that age. I know that I want him, I know that I wanted him, but then you have temptation too. You're not strong enough to fight temptation in your 20s. You're not strong enough. And then it's just things that you go through that could have broken us up, but we both had the will and the fight in us to say, okay, this is what we want. You are who I want, and let's grow through this. Let's fight through this. And that's what I love about it, because we can look back and say, we made it over some difficult times, and I think that's a lot of misconception when people get married. They get married for the glamorous portion of it, for the wedding. They want to look nice going down the aisle. It's their dream to get married, but I don't think people really understand that it's a fight. It's a fight for what you want. And it's a lot of, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep talking.
You're good. We just, we good. I promise you. Look, let me ask you this. Would you recommend people get married young?
I wouldn't.
That's a good question.
I wouldn't. I honestly would not.
I definitely wouldn't.
Okay.
No.
And what you mean when you say young was, because I think I was like 24, 25.
Yeah.
That's young.
Yeah.
Like 24. So
I would say young being, and it's subjective, right? But I would say 24, 23, kind of around there.
I say no. I tell my daughter now, don't even think about any of that, because you have to, and I don't know if this is a question you'll get to, but I'll just get to it now.
Yeah.
You have to, as we just spoke on, you have to learn yourself. You have to really know and learn yourself. Now, being in a marriage, fortunately for us, we learn each other together, through the process. We've been in this thing, we just didn't give up on each other. But a lot of people nowadays, they will give up because they don't want to take the time to learn each other.
Yeah.
As far as learning yourselves as well. So I wouldn't recommend it because it could be stressful. Yeah. I got grades, man, as you can see, Nick.
Me too. You see.
I got grades, man, and it was a struggle, but it was well worth it where we are now. definitely.
Yeah, I definitely would not recommend it. And the thing is, I kind of, and this is what I regret. I gave him like an ultimatum, to be honest, to marry me or like I'm gone, because I was looking at the time that we spent together and the fact that we had a daughter together. So I wasn't looking at, the big picture. I'm just like, we've been together for 5 years. We have a daughter, or however long we were together. But we have a 5-year-old child. If you don't know by now that I'm the one that you want to be with, then it's something wrong.
I'm wrong. Yeah.
So I wasn't looking at our age. I was looking at the time that we spent together. And so I regret giving him that ultimatum and him acting on it, because I have years of in the back of my mind, did he marry me for me and want me to be his wife? Or did he do that because he wanted to keep his family unit together? Or was he scared of me leaving? You know what I'm saying? So I live with that regret. He could tell me all day long, yeah, I did it because I wanted to be with you. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know.
You had that. And
you did it right then and there. Mm-hmm. But I do believe she was the one, and we would eventually. She did put a little gas to the pedal, but
a little gas. You hear this a lot though, and again, we were talking early before we hit record. How try to stay off the internet and comments, but I do see a lot of. A man will know at this point, or if you've been together for this long, then he should just know.
Right.
And, again, just depending on the individual, some days I may agree, some days I may disagree, but hearing that is one of your regrets, right? Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of context that goes into it, but what do you say when people say, well, if he's been with you for this long, he should know? Or, is there a time limit on it?
You want to answer first?
You can answer.
I wouldn't say if he's been with you this long, you should know. I would say if he's been through this with you, through this, you would know. Like the time don't matter, but if you've been through certain situations with people, then you know. Like, prime example, I don't want to tell their story, but if you watch the show, the one of the stars on there, the co-hosts or whatever you want to call them, main cast actors, not actors, but main cast, Quicksilver, DJ Quicksilver.
Okay.
He explained where he knew his wife Ashley would be the woman that he would marry, because when he was at his lowest point, she was there with him through it all. And she was like, I'm going to be here and I'm not going nowhere. And when somebody goes through situations and tough times and heartaches and things like that with you, you know that you could rely on that person. They'll be the person for you. So time means nothing when you think about relationships. I think it's the situation and the things you go through with people within that time is what makes you know this would be that person. She was with me, and to say that before I give it to her, she was with me right when my grandmother passed away. Early on. I think we was together for maybe like
a couple months.
2 to 3 months. And she was there for me. She was like a real big part of my backbone outside of my family that helped me get through that. And, that kind of attached me to her even more. It's like, wow, so soon, so early this happened. And it showed me that she was going to be here to ride with me. And that was huge, So I just think it's what you go through.
I can agree with that.
I love that. I will be honest with you. That's the first time that I've heard it put like that. But as you say it, and I reflect on couples I work with, my own marriage, I'm like, you're so right. It's about what's packed into that time frame.
Right.
A lot of times it gives you the insight into who this person will be 5, 10, 15, 20.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you were to go back 20 years ago, okay, what would you do different? So not
mine. I won't ask them.
Yeah. What would you do different if there was one thing you could say, man, if I knew this then? Okay.
I always say this, and she probably know what I'm going to say. But I always say, and I tell this to any young man that I may mentor, any adult man that's looking to get married, I would always say, go out and find out who you are first before you attach yourself to any woman. Like when we got together, she was a go-getter from the jump.
Okay.
So like she was always like, she was a go-getter. So she had her own apartment early on, her and my daughter. She had a couple of apartments. You know what I'm saying? She was doing her. And I come stay with her. I'll come, you know, I go from her to my parents' house, things like that. Mm-hmm. But I never got my own. And that's something I regret to this day, because I feel when you have your own as a man, you know how to pay your bills, you know how to take care of yourself, you know how to be out there on your own. And I never was able to experience that. You know, and I did live with some regret of that too, because when we got married, I'm like, dang, I ain't never go out there and be able to live my life and be able to, you know, have the fellas over to my house and we just do what I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And I think every man, young man, should experience it for the good and the bad, not just to have a, excuse my French, a whorehouse or nothing like that. Not to have a whorehouse, but to find, you might realize that, you know what, I ain't meant for marriage. I ain't meant for no woman. Mm-hmm. Or you can't pay your bills. You need to learn how to discipline yourself to pay your own bills and not depend on somebody. Like it'll teach you a whole lot when you get your own, start out. Don't be out here trying to ride another woman's back. You know what I'm saying? Or attach yourself to a woman that got their own. You go do yours, and then you bring that woman into something that you built or created.
Yeah. How did that show up in the marriage? Like, because of that, you know, you didn't have yourself established front end. How did it show up throughout the marriage?
So I know I could say, like he said, I was very independent. So I was used to leading on my own. I was used to just doing what I had to do. So it was hard for me to kind of step back and let him run the show. And we bumped heads a lot when it came to that, because he's like, I'm the man of this household. And for me to be able to step back, it took a lot. It's still taking a lot. I'm still trying.
You're like, we got to argue yesterday about this.
So, you know, I think that was, in my opinion, a challenge when it came to that.
No, that's
it was vice versa for me. Like, you know, I felt like it was a battle. You're trying to establish yourself. I'm trying to establish myself. Once we had brought it all together, and it was just like a clash of the titans almost, like, because we almost didn't make it. But first,
I want to say 7
years, it was tough. Like, wow. I'm tired of this. He was tired of me. I was tired of her. And I think it was just a clash of like, almost like a thing of power. You know, when two people trying to establish themselves of like, who's going to be who. That's what it was.
Yeah. I feel like when you've been married and together for so long, every couple, if they're being honest, gets to a point where they genuinely question if this is it.
Yeah.
You know, in some couples, I mean, you see how it ends. And in some instances, that's probably best case scenario, right? That they call it quits. But some people continue to press through, and they find that, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel, at least on the other side of whatever it is that made them question. What was that for you guys? What made you all get to the point where you said, we're going to continue to fight?
For me, I just look at what we built. Like we've come a long way. Like we've gone through so much stuff. Why throw in the towel now? We built so much together. I love you. You love me. We're in love. You know, it's going to be some difficulties and trials and tribulations, but that's what makes something great. If it's easy, it's not, you don't appreciate it. But when you can look back and say we've overcome all this stuff, it's like you can really appreciate the union, you know?
I want you, and again, we hadn't had time to get into like each of you guys' family history and background, but I want you to think about a piece of bad advice that you got. All right.
Okay.
Either at the beginning of marriage or before getting married, that in retrospect, you're like, man, that was some bad advice.
I don't think I've received any bad advice. I don't know, Neil, you probably have, because you done a lot of crazy stuff. Your fellas told you to do some of that crazy stuff.
I mean, not bad. They just told me don't get married.
Okay.
A lot of people tell you don't get married.
Like that just sounds like some good advice.
They will. They tell you don't get married. That was pretty much the only bad advice I've had. Like so far in my circle, I was blessed to have good people in my circle.
Yeah.
Especially as far as men.
Mm-hmm.
I've been blessed and fortunate to have pretty solid men in my circle. Even if they would disagree with the choice I made, they wouldn't even allow me, or if I did anything, it was on my own.
Yeah.
Nobody had to persuade me, or nobody persuaded me to do anything. But they did tell me not to get married because it was so young, and I was still trying to play ball at the time. And that's
weird.
That's part of it.
It was
what they told me to do, not to get married. And we're gonna keep that away.
But I do think even that is there's so much wisdom packed in that, right? Just having a circle and a community around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think about marriage and going the distance, you can't do it alone.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I agree with you.
Yes.
And not even just having people around you, but like positive people.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. And it's funny because I would say that's probably one of the pieces of advice that I was given. I'm not going to say it was bad because it depends who's in your circle. Because I was always told, never put anybody in your marriage. Never, tell what's going on in your marriage, But on the flip side of that, that's if you have bad apples in your circle, like I should be able to go to my family and, or someone, and not everybody don't need to be divulged into what's going on in your household, but you should have someone that you can talk to, a friend or someone, a confidant, and, to express some things or have them give you some advice, especially if it's another married person who's been together for a long time within your circle. We've been blessed to have those kind of people within our circle where we can get advice from. I have a sister, Clarissa. She's not my blood sister, but we've been knowing each other for years. I was a baby, like 17 years old when I met her, and she's 10 years older than me. And she has given me such wonderful advice when it comes to me and Neil. And she makes me think like, okay, take yourself out of it. She gives me a different perspective.
She always got my back.
She always got a different perspective.
You always need somebody on the other team that's kind of feeding you the code,
Right. So having those type of positive people in your circle, it's definitely a plus and a bonus when it comes to keeping a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because even as I'm just listening and hearing you guys, I'm like, you could be trying to do the right thing, but if you got the wrong people around you, the right thing can feel like the wrong thing.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's good. What has been most surprising about marriage?
We lasted this long.
I was going to say the same thing.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, well, I'm going to say, so where to say that then? I'm going to say
no,
something.
Go ahead. You can say that. But what else you got?
You've been together long. You start saying the same thing.
Right.
I would say outside of that, not that we lasted this long, but what we built while we've been together this long. Like we're not millionaires or live in a mansion on a hill and nothing like that. We live and we pay bills and do things just like the regular everyday person. But coming from where we come from,
how we started,
y'all gotta understand. This girl used to go to cash advance every week because she didn't know how to manage money and spend money, and she was getting fronted on her paychecks because she was spending all of her money. You know what I'm saying? As me myself, I was working at Walmart, Target overnight, and like we literally started with not having a lot, and where we managed to be now with 3 kids in a home. They can call their own rooms. They're not asking for, they don't need nothing. They got food, clothes on their back. And we started this from 18 together. You know what I'm saying? To me, that's a great accomplishment, that some might overlook, but I appreciate that part of the journey. when you can sit back and just look and see what you've accomplished from teenagers. Yeah, like from teenagers, like out that Target, man, working overnight, man, was rough, brother.
And look, as soon as you said Walmart, I'm like, ain't nothing sexy about Walmart.
Man, it was rough, man. I'm trying to tell you.
Look, even if you in the headquarters, you down in Arkansas.
It's rough, man. It's rough.
No way to spin it.
Yes, sir.
Man, but that's and I think couples should spend more time reflecting.
Yes.
Because we get so focused on the next and what's ahead and trying to do this, and you should. I mean, we all push it, continue to grow and develop and get to the next level. But sometimes you really do have to just stop and think about how far you've come.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
It just makes you have so much appreciation for where you are. And that's all we have is a present moment.
Yep.
I agree.
So when I talk to couples that are thinking about marriage, kind of on the cusp of marriage, one of the topics is like my go-to, and that's values. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sexy. Nobody wants to sit and talk about what you value. Like the old therapist is talking about, but I know it's so important because when life happens, that's what you're going to hold on to.
Absolutely.
What you value most.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? On just values and the role that it has played in your marriage? And what advice would you have for that young couple that is considering marriage? What should they consider?
So for me personally, to have someone who is equally yoked with me as far as religion is concerned, like God is the forefront of our marriage. Without him, we definitely would not have lasted this long. Mm-hmm. So I really, really hold that wholeheartedly when it comes to marriage. And if you don't, believe whatever your religious belief is or whatever, have that same core, with your partner, whatever that may be, because I just feel like with me, that's the glue that holds us. Like that's our value. Like I did that to me. I don't know what you say.
Exactly. But I would say it a little different. I would say like, hold to God's unchanging hand.
Don't listen to that.
Hey, look, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%.
I had to break out in the song with that one, man, because you gotta have, like Tasha said, you gotta have something solid as your foundation. I know because I tried it. We both tried it. When times got hard, all we could do was go, whether it was us praying, our parents praying, grandparents praying, prayer worked, and it got us through to where we are now.
Yeah.
We didn't go try to hustle and go do, man, sometimes you gotta sit down and just God gotta do something. You know what I'm saying? And we both was on the same accord when it came to that. And it didn't happen overnight. Yeah. And it might have got rougher sometimes, but we always pulled through. So I just had to throw the song with it.
No, you got to make it real because the truth is, and we talk about values. One of the challenging parts about values is you don't realize what someone values for real, until life happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can say I'm standing on the word, and I can say I'm doing all of these things. You know how it is, you date.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Me and you both, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But then life happens, and you really see what is most important to people.
Yeah.
How does someone assess that on the front end? Because you're not going to experience everything up front.
Right.
How do you know if this person values what they really say they value?
You don't know until it happens. I mean, you can ask all the right questions and people can say what they want. They give you the perfect answer, but you really don't honestly know until it happens.
Yeah. Especially women. Women going, I mean, and it's the opposite. I'm not going to say what you think I'm saying, but women are they're going to let us know exactly what they want, and it's going to be me, the player, that's going to give you exactly what you want to get what I want.
Right.
Yeah. You need a cook? I'm a cook.
Hey, baby, I got this. So you say, I like a man that's
getting those recipes, you know me.
You feel me? So if you come and tell me, Man, I love a man that loves God and that's grounded in the word. Or what I'm saying, baby, you know, I love the Lord. You know, Proverbs such and such and such and such.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. So, like I said earlier, you never know until you go through something with somebody. Yeah. That's why it's not so, you shouldn't go so quickly into something with somebody. Go through something with them first. That's marriage, friendships, everything. You need to go through things with people before you can really call them a friend or fiance, wife, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, that's priceless right there. I love that. Go through something. Go through something. Yeah, because it'll expose who they are.
Absolutely.
That's real. Facts.
It really will. And this is kind of dovetails into that. But any final advice, you know, when you think about it, like if you were talking to you 15, 20 years ago, I work with a lot of couples, 20s, 30s, people who are recovering from some bad relationships, the whole gambit. What advice would you have to the couple that's either in the beginning of marriage or considering marriage? And I know you said a little bit, go through something with them. Anything you want to add to that, Tasha?
I would say just talk, communicate. What else? Learn that person's family, because that's another thing that people don't understand is when you marry someone, you're marrying their family as well. So get to know where that person come from. What's their lineage? Like, you know, you need to understand where this, because you're going to create kids with this person. You need to know where this person come from, you know? So that's one piece of advice that I will always tell someone, you know, don't just, you know, it's not just a person, it's his family too. So get to know who this person is wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. You talk about family. I'm laughing. I'm like, now I told my mother-in-law that I'm doing this podcast. She in there with the ice machine. And you know I can't go in there and say nothing.
Right.
So I just gonna have to close it out and make it.
Hey, man.
Listen, I don't hear it. I don't hear ice machine. So
I don't hear it neither.
That's right.
Don't worry about it.
You know. Listen, where can people find you? You guys are actually doing some amazing things. The show is just one part of a bigger picture of things that you guys are involved in, some of your passions. Man, where can people find you at if they want to get involved in some of the work you're doing, support you? Like, where can they go?
Absolutely. So my personal IG page is Tajali, Tajally. You can also, if you're looking for any real estate needs, me, my husband, and my daughter, like I said, we have a real estate firm that if you're looking to purchase, sell, rent, invest, any real estate need that you want, you can look us up on the Lyons Den Group LLC.com. And the Lyons Den Real Estate is our IG page, and that's LYONS.
Awesome.
All right, well, you can locate me. I got to change my name. I got my name is Big Neil 15. That was for years. I got to change it. I got to mature, man.
Like Slim Thug, change it from.
I got to mature, man.
Big Slim, you know.
I got to mature my page, man. I got to. But
Slim Thug can do what you can do it.
Yeah. Can I say one thing before you leave?
Oh, please.
One thing. Because I made a vow to myself, right? I was going to always say this anytime we had a interview with a married couple type of thing.
What you about to say?
This is, I'm about to be real.
Okay,
I'm about to be serious. Not a joke this time. So I do this in honor of my uncle who passed away, right? Mm-hmm. He gave me some great advice. And I always want to pass it on to, like the last question you asked, any person inspiring to be married or are married or couples, whatever. He told me this and it helps me. Although I don't do it as much because of the way our life is. But he told me every man should have time to himself to relax into the cares of the world, especially Black men. You go through so much on a daily basis. Your 9 to 5, your kids, dealing with marriage, all the things that you got in the world. You see what we go through with police. We just go through a lot as Black men. He always told me, before you come home with all that baggage on your back, take time to yourself to release it, because if you don't, and I found myself doing, you come in the house, you stress, all she got to say is, hey, babe, you ain't go take out, you ain't been, and you could snap. Because you got so much that you dealt with outside of the household attached to you. So before you come and deal with your family and your loved ones, make sure you release all those things and release that stuff before you get through them doors, because if not, you're going to carry it inside your house with you, and that's how you bring those things home. So if I could tell anybody anything like that was I always made a vow. My Uncle Jake always left me with that. I remember that, and I'm gonna keep that with me, and I'm gonna keep passing on because I think that's helpful, especially to us Black men and men of whoever that's out here dealing with the ways of the world.
Can I piggyback?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, and then on the flip side, with the female, the home is supposed to be the sanctuary. So we want to make it a comfortable environment for when the man does come home. So any stress that we can take away from him in the household, we have to, do that too. So I have to do better with that.
Yeah, you do.
but I feel like that.
Nudging you, like,
yeah. You saying it, but
it's true.
Do you mean
I'll
it?
work on
Do you mean it?
Yeah, I'm about to burn practice what you preach.
No,
That
it's very
sounds good
true.
on the podcast.
You know what I'm saying? It sound real good.
It does, don't
I love it, man. Both of you guys, seriously, that was both some incredible advice, and truly, I just appreciate you all for who you are. I appreciate you all for taking time to be on the podcast and just share. I think more people need to hear from you guys and just other couples who are going through or experience similar challenges relationally. So thank you all so much.
No problem.
I appreciate
Thanks for having us.
Dr. Hardy. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, man.
Everybody else, tune in to another episode. Thank you for listening. This is Untherapeutic. I'm your host, Dr. Nic Hardy.